Where are you right now? At home? Work? Traveling? What do you see in your living room? Maybe this is playing on a computer in the background. Maybe you're watching this on a plane. Regardless, there is a rhyme and reason for everything in your surroundings. Where is the plane taking you? Setting isn't just your physical surroundings. It can tell you where you've been, what you're doing now, and what your future looks like. In writing, that same principle holds true. When a character looks around, what do they see, and how do authors make that compelling? What large and small details are needed to draw a reader in to make the setting believable and worthy of exploring? Let's discuss the central elements of setting in a story, and discuss what to look for in your next read, or how you can go about writing your own story with a setting worth reading. Normally, I'd go over some central tenets of this aspect of storytelling piece by piece and give some examples along the way. Instead, I think it's better just to start off with just how impactful the setting can be just by looking at a few details, and then extrapolating from that setting with just a few small bits of information. Let's try this thought experiment. I'm going to give a brief description of a location, and I want you to take a moment and write down what you think this setting tells us in terms of its people, the economy, government, etc., and why you think those things based on the description and how that plays into the setting and the world around it. I'm specifically not going to have an image on screen for this. I think it would be better for you to use your imagination. If you're brave enough, write out a comment typing out all of the information that you can glean off of it and see how many you matched with me. Where did you differ? I came up with a fairly sizable list, and I think you can too. Feel free to pause if needed and state what you can reasonably work out of the information given. As a disclaimer, assume the following locations a setting that is non-magical. This is just going to be a paragraph written out, so for the aspiring manga and comic writers out there, I would recommend doing something like this for your storyboarding, then keeping all the following in mind through the writing of the rest of the piece that you're working on. You see a large castle in the center of a bustling city. It shines from its white marble and sparkles from any angle. There are 5 towers, with the central being the tallest of them. You see royal banners draped across the sides of the castle, alongside some religious emblems. The city itself seems nice, but not as nice as the castle by any means. The further away you get from the castle, the more rundown buildings you see. Okay, so what do we know and what can we guess about this city from that description? Not a lot of shining castles today in 2025. This particular setting has 2 options for the world outside of the city. One where this castle would be common, or one where it would be unique. If this is a common setup, other cities and castles exist in the world. If it's unique, then this is a rare location, and there is a special reason why it stands out. How did this city come to be if it is rare? Did it survive from an age of castles, or is this the first of its kind? You can safely assume that there's a variety of shops, businesses, and other places to cover basic needs and wants. There's certainly a way for people to get basic goods like food and water. One of the biggest pieces to think about is not just what's mentioned, but also when things are not mentioned. With this being a city, the lack of agriculture being mentioned means there must be some way to import food and other goods. That must also mean that there are other industries here. How else would these people pay for food and water? In a city this large, there's likely people who are blacksmiths, some who work in said castle, merchants, serfs, entertainers. If someone has the means, they can likely survive here comfortably. Whoever runs the city is inside of that castle, and knowing castles, it's likely a monarchy. Who else is inside? The central tower being the tallest means the person or people ruling this place live there. It's the most important and grandstanding. The castle sounds pretty sizable. You would need staff or a specific way to maintain that castle. Are they just servants hired off of the street? What kind of people take the jobs from the custodial staff all the way up to the right hand of the monarchy? Each of them likely has a story about seeing the castle for the first time and realizing that they wanted to be there. Some could just do it for survival, but how many are looking just to get their foot in the door? How many of them are trying to get even closer to the powers that be? Who among them have malicious intent by getting as close as possible with those rulers? If there is indeed a king or even just a leader of government, they likely have guards or protection. Maybe there's even an elite guard that stays close to the royal family. And in turn, what does that family look like? While there may only be one ruler, it's likely that ruler has a circle of relatives, confidants, and friends. What are their roles in this setting? Those in the castle are rich, it's well maintained and showy, but there is a wealth gap with the poorer population sanctioned to the outskirts of the city. In this city, there is a clear class divide that has an impact for everyone who lives there, whether it's to their benefit or detriment. The castle is central in town, and because the citizens can always see it, it will impact their lives in multiple ways. The way it is seen by people likely varies based on their lives at that moment. This could be good. Citizens could revere the illustrious palace due to its beauty. They might see it as the city's pride and be filled with patriotism. Maybe those who are closer to it feel even stronger about it, like they are almost there. Maybe it's a status symbol for those who are closer to this shining monument in the city. This could also lead to bad things. The citizens on the outskirts of the town might be living in squalor, and seeing the castle constantly gleaming could enrage them. Why not share this wealth? Do they care more about the shine of the castle than they do their people? What factions of people on the outskirts of the city want to do something about it? Who wants to even the playing field? What do people inside of the castle find as important? It's a symbol of their power and wealth directly linked to the state and the appearance of the castle. What kind of foothold do these religious influencers have in the castle? When and why did that connection get so strong? Is this recent history or an ancient one? Each tower could serve a different purpose. Maybe one is food storage, another is for the guards, etc. Or they might serve similar functions. It's hard to tell, but the people inside know every nook, cranny, and secret of these places. I'm sure there are even more things that you could imply from it, and that's the exciting part of settings and stories. I ask the above questions because it gets to the heart of what I'm asking here in this video. How do your characters interact with this setting based on what they're seeing? It's a seemingly normal city. Do they go right to the castle and try to speak with the king? Do they spend time in the seedy underbelly, which has them stumble upon a rebellion that's in the works? Do they go to the market and meet the rich merchants, all of whom are trying to get closer to this shining castle in the center of the city for their own prestige and wealth? The setting of your story impacts every person that your characters interact with, and because it likely has a different effect on each of them, their worldviews are wide and varied based on the settings that they come from. When reading or writing your stories, your mindset should be that the setting is like an iceberg. When you see 10% above the water, you're seeing the castle, the tower, the banners. But beneath the surface, there's 90% left to be explored. Why are things the way they are? Why are they in a castle? What purpose do these towers serve? Why are the banners hung in the way that they are? Who are the people in charge of this system? Who is trying to change it? Who tries to maintain the status quo? Was an ancient king saved by this religion, and has it had a foothold in the country ever since? Or was this a recent prince infected with lies, all for these religious leaders to try to make their claim for the throne? The caveat I'll throw into this is not every story needs to have 18 pages dedicated to why the banners are blue in the palace, but there should be some rhyme or reason for why the world looks like it does. How do people live in this world? A simple touch of world building with your setting combines together to create a really kick-ass and compelling narrative, and it's the author's job to make that happen. Short stories, mini-series, and one-shots have much less room to dive into every aspect of the world. But the longer that a series gets, the more questions an audience will have throughout its publication for what makes the world tick. An unsatisfying answer to these questions, or a lack of an answer at all, can spell out tragedy for a story, and it's quickly labeled as shallow and uninteresting. This idea of a rich setting that feels alive and lived in makes it so your readers want to continue to learn more about this world. What grabs their attention? How do you continue to tease and pay off of those interests? With all of that in mind, in my paragraph before the description, I had said that this was non-magical. If there's magic in this world now, how does that change the way that we see things? What assumptions of ours are turned on its head? How does that change the way that goods get into the city? What jobs and roles of the people are impacted? It goes further when we adjust other things like the time frame. What role would a castle play in a story set in modern times? How far is this into the future? What things are changed when we know that this story doesn't take place in a time before planes, cell phones, or spaceships? How much more valuable or less valuable is a stone castle the further away you get from the medieval era? Maybe in today's world, it's purely a showcase of a once great power. Maybe in the future, it's one of the last rare standing relics of an ancient world. There's so much fun and endless possibilities with a good setting. It's where an author is able to take you into a world and where you're so excited to turn the page. You are asking the questions of the inner workings of a fascinating world, and when they get answered, that makes you even more invested. You start to be so much more focused and wanting to learn more, and it immediately makes you enjoy the story at a whole new level. But what do you think? What elements of a setting are important that I didn't mention? What makes you excited to learn more about this physical setting of the world? Leave a comment and let me know. If you like videos like this, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. And look, I know that I've been off schedule for a bit, so I apologize. There isn't really an excuse that works for this many months of no contact. Totally on me with a promotion at work that took up a ton of my time, but also just being lazy and prioritizing other things in life. So I'm trying to tackle it differently this time around, so hopefully it works out better and you can expect more frequent uploads from me in the near future. And I will say, when I was on my unannounced hiatus, I still got nothing but mostly positive feedback and interactions with you all, so I really appreciate it. Thanks again, and this was Panel Flow.